Hi y'all, my name is Marissa, this is Risa Rising, and we talk here about the transition of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius and how that has affected the current social climate that we're seeing right now. Just letting you know, this does get political. I put political in quotation marks because what is political to some people is actually a way of life and survival to others. So we are actually currently in. It's not just that we're going into, we are currently in the age of Aquarius. I have my notes over here, and sometimes it's kind of like awkward just to look into the camera. But we are going into the age of Aquarius. It's a really important time in history. It's very, very unique. We are in the in-between time where we're leaving the zone of Pisces, so there's a lot of pull from that area, right? There's a lot of pulling back and a lot of hearkening to the way things used to be while we have to progress forward. There is no choice. We cannot go back in time. We must progress forward. And that is the age of Aquarius. When we look at, well, I guess we'll get more into the wheel and all that, but I want you to understand, as we leave the age of Pisces, what are we leaving? What are we leaving behind? What are people holding on to so dearly? What does Pisces in itself encapsulate? And this is like the part 1 of the series. Okay. So, Pisces. Oopsie, I'm on the... Hold on. Okay. I was like, wait a minute, did I open the wrong set of notes? No, I didn't. There's a second part to this okay. So I want us to start with the positive things of Pisces. Okay? So Pisces all by itself is a very, sorry, the sun's going down, but it's a very romantic sign. It's a very romantic sign. It's a very romantic sign placement. I feel like we've had some of the most beautiful love songs and poetry. It's very much this soulmate sort of, like there's one person for you, and really beautiful like illustrations and devotions in that sort of way. Let me say this, that Pisces is actually the highest octave of Venus. It's exalted sign. It's exalted in the sign of love. It is representative of unconditional love, whether good or bad. But we're talking about the good. We're talking about the good. Okay, so it also encompasses this spiritual depth, right? This connecting with the spirit world, this sort of religious tie to the divine creator, and like there's this very deep spiritual nature. It's normally ruled by the 12th house, and the 12th house represents life after we die. So there's a great tie to that aspect of the afterlife and the creator, and a deep spirituality there. Pisces tends to have like really an unlimited sense of compassion. They're a deeply compassionate sign. They care so deeply about even people they don't know. Like they can be ultra empathic people. Like when people have a lot of 12th house placements, we'll talk about the house systems and things like that, but it usually makes a very empathetic person. So it's even for love, unconditional love and compassion for even those who are seemingly undeserving. There is a sense of art for art's sake. It's not for gain. That's the difference between Pisces and Leo placements. It's not for financial gain. It's like, I need to create something. That's why sometimes when you have deeply creative people, it can be ultra, like almost like zapping the life out of them for them not to be able to create something. It can be almost soul-sucking. So they create art for the sake of creating art. I used to work with a girl who used to do her nails so beautifully, just for the sake of art. Even their physical body can be like a canvas for art. There's also a sense of glamour when it comes to Pisces. That's why I do believe that in the movie industry, in the heart of because that's what the movies are. They're glamour. They glamorize especially when the movie industry was fresh and new. You know, it put people in these certain situations and told these glorious stories and these adventures, and it adds a sense of glamour to things. The imaginations of people from the age of Pisces. I think I'm gonna turn on the lamp. I don't like that. Let's leave it like this for now because the light's still out. And now I just know to do this earlier. But it's this sense of imagination and this play, and going back to the art forms, like the massive amount of art forms that came from that imagination, dance and song and poetry, and great tall tales, and the stories that we hear. They have a tendency to build an alternative world and to live in that alternative world. And right now we're talking about that as a good thing. So they have the power to create these intricate world building sort of systems, and when used appropriately, it is a very beautiful thing. And last, these are just some things. I'm sure Pisces encompasses more. This is the good. Pisces extends a lot of grace towards people and a lot of forgiveness. They have a tendency not to hold on to things. In fact, they want to move on from things. They want to be able to move on with grace and understanding, and they believe that it harms them to hold on to certain things. And they truly believe that whoever they're forgiving will be better. And they're better for it. Hold on. I tried to make my camera higher, but it just didn't work. Okay, so now we're going into the negative things about Pisces. And this isn't to dogpile on Pisces. This is Pisces in its most powerful energy. All right. So the negative things about Pisces and about the past 2,000 years that have greatly affected us. And I'm only talking, once again, guys, I'm only talking about America. I'm only talking about here. But you can apply it to your own country if you see that it fits. Pisces has an enormous tendency to romance pain. They have an enormous tendency to romance suffering. We can hear it in the heartbreak music. We can hear it in romancing other people's suffering, like actual sufferings. And I'll go deeper into that. There is a sense of martyrdom. Even one of the biggest religions in the world, Christianity, the deity, as you may call it, is a martyr. He dies for the rest of the world, so the rest of the world can live. So there's a sense of martyrdom and a sense of self-sacrifice, but there is no reward in martyrdom. Not for the person that's committing the act. There is no reward in martyrdom. And before everybody freaks out, yes, I identify as Christian, and there are Christian beliefs incorporated in what I'm saying as well. One of the biggest things also that we see and is really affecting, that's better, and that is affecting us here in the United States is the sense of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is enormous when it comes to Pisces. Sometimes the biggest enemy of a Pisces is a Pisces person, as themselves. There is an enormous amount of escapism. It could come through like toxic relationships. It can come through as them, disassociating. It could come through as drugs, alcohol, the need to escape. And a lot of the times the excuse will be, well, they're an artist, It's like, no, girl, this is unhealthy therapy. Another unhealthy thing or a negative thing that comes usually with Pisces is a sense of delusion. They really are. And they trust people that are enormously untrustworthy. The sense of delusion that, and it sometimes even goes so deep as that like they like are almost manifesting something that everything is going to be okay, like no matter what. But they are, ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter does have sometimes this sense of delusion. And sometimes they confuse, this delusion can obviously have them truly mistaking fiction for fact. How I feel is real. No, or how the way I feel, how they transmute that in the world as fact. Then there are these, I'm sure you've heard people talk about this, these rose-colored glasses that Pisces can see the world through. So like when we say that, they're seeing it through like this almost happy, optimistic lens, where the biggest thing is when we come to rose-colored glasses is the refusal to see and acknowledge red flags. I don't know about you, but the Pisces people that I know in my life, they what red flags? I see none. I have no idea what you're talking about, girl. And it's like, girl, how many times have you been through this? It's actually almost shocking. But I personally feel it's like the refusal to acknowledge that they exist. There's also a duality that comes with Pisces. It's two fish. You know what I'm saying? So it's the two fish together, and it often contradicts itself. So like you have for example, when I talk about duality, like there's the whore and Madonna complex when it comes to women, of wanting them to know all these different things, but wanting them to be pure, and it's your first time, and they don't know anything about having sex. That is a whore Madonna complex, that you want your woman to do all those things, but it's one of those it's a projected, like the projection of this duality. Okay, so I also want to talk about in astrology the house system. So I'm sure if you guys have looked up your rising sign, you'll notice that it's in a circle, and there are different house systems. So with Pisces, its house is the 12th house. Those are truths that are hidden from us. That's a very important point. Hidden from us. The unconscious patterns, your mental health, it's isolation and solitude. It's prison systems and asylums, and it also has a lot to do with past lives and karmas. It's the house we understand most when we die. Yes, the house that we understand, it's ancestral karmas. Ancestral karmas. And if you believe in it, the house of past lives. It is also the house that is boundless. So it has no boundaries. And all this is so that's what we've been in for 2,000 plus years, is this area of spirituality and sort of this hazy, look at the bright side sort of thing, like this sort of Piscean, artsy, drifting through time and space sort of world. I will also say that Pisces is a very easily manipulated sign. So that is Pisces in its purest form. So now we're going into, which it's already started, it's already here, the age of Aquarius. So let's name the positives first about the age of Aquarius. So Aquarius is called in the zodiac the great humanitarian, right? It truly believes in creating a society where there's this equality and creating like a fairness and creating like everyone should eat. I that seems like such a crazy concept to some people, but yeah, like it seems to it wants to crumble systems of oppression. It also has another major thing when it comes to us talking about the Aquarius us moving into Aquarius is technology. So it believes in, okay, stay with me. There's another thing I forgot to mention about Pisces, and I'm going to mention it when I'm talking about Aquarius. So with Pisces, there can sometimes be an aversion to labor. I'm not talking about, well, there can be an aversion to labor. Some might even say lazy. I'm saying lazy. So some, including myself, may say that there is a lazy sort of aspect to Pisces. While that is true about Pisces, Aquarius seeks to make life easier through technological advances. So it's not that there's a laziness there, but there is a wanting of ease. And we can see even in the last 10 years, there's DoorDash, there's Lyft, there's Uber, there's all sorts of services, hotels.com, all sorts of services that can make whatever you need to do much easier. To the point now where there is a lot of AI and things like that, and it just keeps evolving. So there is this human technological hand-holding that goes along, and the need to create more technologically need for technological advancement, and in which you are improving life. And this is one of my favorite things, honestly, about the thing I'm about to say is like literally one of my favorite things about Aquarius, because it's really, really strong in Gen Z, and I love Gen Z. They are the kings and queens of reciprocal energy. This is coming from a millennial, okay? It's a millennial who works with Gen Z, because Gen Z doesn't put up with any bullshit, and I love that. They will all freak out, and it doesn't matter how like small the aversion was. Everybody is sharing the information, and there is a reciprocal energy. No, Melissa, you are not my boss. I don't know who you're talking to, but it isn't me, and I will report you to HR in a hot minute. Don't play with me. And then everybody knows Melissa's an asshole. Like, it is reciprocal energy on steroids. I've never seen anything like that. They will straight up, they do not care. They don't. And as somebody who is a millennial, whose job was like, what, you're easily replaceable, Gen Z is like, girl, you are too. I don't know what you thought this was. I don't know who you thought you were or who you were talking to, but she's not here, okay? I need you to chill out. You are not my boss. Like, like I always think of, if you guys watch Archer, if you watched Archer, it was, I think her name was Cheryl. Cheryl would be, you're not my supervisor. That's what I think of when I think of Gen Z, because they're like, who are you talking to? Are they in the room with us? Like, what? Do you need help finding your mind? I love that about Gen Z. I'm sorry, I just went on a whole little tangent. But okay, so the next positive thing about Gen Z or not Gen Z, about Aquarius. Gen Z just has a lot of Aquarian energy. But Aquarius is higher thought. So while Pisces was the highest octave of Venus, the higher octave of Venus, which is unconditional love. Aquarius, on the other hand, is the highest octave of Mercury. So it's in its exalted placement in Mercury. It's the highest octave of thought. So it brings this ingenuity and this sense of genius to things. It thinks truly outside the box and offers great initiative and offers great solutions to things that you wouldn't even think of. Aquarius is a dual ruleship sign, dual ruleship, which is Saturn and Aquarius. If you go by old astrology, it's just Saturn. Uranus, that's what I meant. If you go by the old astrology, Aquarius was ruled by Saturn, and I think it's absolutely still is. And the newer astrology says that it's just ruled by Uranus. I believe that it's both planets. I believe it's one of those unique signs that has dual rulership of planets. Yes, so it has this higher thought, this genius about it, this ingenuity, but it's also a trendsetter without trying to be. So we'll get into that as we continue on with our series, but without even trying to be, because it's not trying to be the center of attention. It's really not. Aquarius opposes the king. But it's that girl without trying. And then we have the Aquarius is community, right? It is community. And through community, you begin to have this collective awakening. And that is truly something that we are seeing in the birth of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, because that's what we're in. We are literally in the birth of the age of Aquarius. Okay, now that we've talked about the positives of Aquarius, we're going to talk about the negatives of Aquarius. So, as we're sort of seeing, there is, or if you've ever sort of dated an Aquarius, there can be an emotional detachment. It seems that they are unemotional. They often rationalize human emotion, or they rationalize their own emotions because it is ruled by Saturn. And there can be a sense of isolation with Aquarian people or Aquarian energy. There can definitely be a sense of isolation. And they are one of those that go to the beat of their own drum, which can be lonely. It can be lonely going to the beat of your own drum. There is a feeling that, especially when they're young, there's a feeling that they're misunderstood or that they're weird, or, you know, that the hobbies that they enjoy are so out of the box. They can be overly rational to the point where they can be dismissive of emotion. Now, I will say that is a very good, a sort of good thing in today's world, but yes, they will dismiss you. They can be so rational that they don't add the human aspect to it. They don't add the emotional aspect to it. So that can also continue to lead to detachment. And this is the one that definitely aggravates the shit out of me the most, just because of what happened. And like I said, we're getting political on here, this election. So it's rebellion, being rebellious for rebellious sake. Now, Aquarius is the great humanitarian. It does fight for equal rights. It does fight to be seen and to snuff out objectification and oppression. Like, it seeks to get rid of these things. But sometimes you have these groups of people that just want to be rebellious for the sake of being rebellious. They want to be devil's advocate, and you're looking at them like sitting in there like you're advocating for the, like, You are arguing a point that shouldn't be arguing. You realize that. You devil's advocate. You're arguing for what the devil. You're wrong in what you're saying. So why I say that this is something that is major that happened in the birth of Aquarius, age of Aquarius, is we had a group. These were the Palestinian supporters. And we were actively telling them, hey, your plan doesn't make sense. This whole, we're going to withhold our vote, like they're begging you to go out there and do something. You have a choice to participate in this political system that we have set up, and that's the only way your political voice will be heard. But, you know, it was, I'm going to withhold my vote, and I'm going to do this. And it's like, what is your plan, though? What is your plan? Oh, we're going to go out and we're going to protest and we're going to bump the streets. That's not a plan. What is your plan? What is your plan? To protest is not a plan. That's not a plan. That is something that you do to get, as a last cry for help, to be heard. That is not a plan. And people who have been doing this for a very long time are really trying to hammer in and be like, hey guys, this doesn't make any sense. Your plan doesn't make any sense. Shut up, we know better. And now look at us. Now look at where we are. So it's the sake, and as much as that irritates my entire soul, it's still very Aquarius. I strongly believe in this thing, and I don't care. This is the way that we need to go, and you need to listen, because they are a fixed sign. And I will say, this is like an underdeveloped, non-mature Aquarius thing. Like, it's not like, this is a very, it makes sense that this happened in the birth of Aquarius. Something like this. I'm gonna dig my heels in the sand. You can't tell me anything. I don't care. It makes sense to me. But now we collectively have to go through nonsense, right? We collectively now have to go through this. And I'm getting myself worked up. But it's like, what you gonna do? And whatever you do, understand that it does affect the collective. Okay, so let's talk about the house that Aquarius represents. It actually represents a very positive house. So unlike the Pisces house, which is the 12th house, which is a natural house of karmas, the 11th house is a lot more forgiving. It's a house of community, of friendship, your friends, building friendships, your friendship groups, your social outlets. It's technology, it's coworkers, and it's hopes and dreams. Okay? So when we think about the themes of Pisces, we're thinking about spirituality, we're thinking about mysticism, we're thinking about religion and faith-based organizations. Oh God, this isn't the worst one for Pisces in real life. All-consuming love. You know, when they get everything is about the partner. My God, today. Romance. They can be detached. Pisces needs their very much alone time. There is an enormous, I forgot to mention this in the first one, there is an enormous sense of victimhood when it comes to Pisces. And a shifting of blame often. They don't like being in trouble. They don't like being blamed for something, so they'll try and shift the blame elsewhere. There is a sense of delusion, isolation sometimes, superiority, unconditional love and compassion, and then you have Aquarius, which is they feel isolated because they feel like they don't belong places, or they feel like they're they they can be very detached emotionally, and you get liberation, futuristic liberation, through disruption. The second ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, and Uranus, it rules over earthquakes. It is quick disruption. It's a very fast-moving planet. Or not fast-moving planet, but the thought process is fast when it comes to Uranus. And Uranus will be like, okay, girl, it's time to change. And it will just throw it on the ground and break it and smash it up and rebuild it. Okay. So let's also continue to talk about one of the biggest things that Pisces brought us, and that is Pisces brought us glorification through suffering. Now, I know some of you may ask, like, what are you talking about when you're talking about glorification in suffering? So, like I said, there is typically no reward in martyrdom. Nothing tangible or like. But we talk about the glorification of suffering. Think about a married woman. Let's say her husband is beating her, or is cheating on her, or is mistreating her in some sort of way. And she goes to her church, which is very Piscean, religious organization. More than likely, they're going to say something like, you need to stay with your husband. Like, stay with your husband. And if she does do that thing, if she performs this act of martyrdom, she is seen as a good woman. It's not necessarily you're good for, like, you get your glorification through other people. And the satisfaction of knowing that you were good. You were a good woman. You were a good wife. And you have children at home. You're doing something. It has an act of manipulation. It's an act of manipulation. Let's say your husband is cheating on you and spending your money that you need, your family's money that you need for your children. Let's say he's doing that. They will tell you to stay. The Bible says that there is no excuse for that. And you can get a divorce if you want to. That's what the Bible says. But the church says you should stay. Let me tell you something. In the Bible, you could divorce your wife for any reason. You could divorce her for putting too much salt in your food. But no, if you did that, you were responsible for that woman and her family for the rest of your life. There were major consequences. You want to be with somebody else? Go be with somebody else, baby. But you're responsible for that woman for the rest of your life. I love that they like to omit that. What a woman is entitled to. But because this woman was unquestionably loyal to her husband, because she endured this suffering, because she was spiritually obedient to God, because God didn't say nothing like that. Because she was spiritually obedient to the Father and to God. If your husband is beating you, God, in the Bible, he wants you to separate from him. Get away from him. You're a noble, good woman. Modern day martyrdom. You die unto yourself. And what happens if that man were to beat her to death? He would go to jail. She would be dead. Her kids would be in foster care. Who is the winner here? What good came from that? What good could possibly come from this situation? Another example of the glorification of suffering is the coal miners. Now, we've been through this coal miner situation in 2016 when DT first got in office, and they lost their affordable health care because they didn't understand that Obamacare, which was coined by the Republicans, they did not understand that that was the same thing as the ACA, which they heavily relied upon. And then they turned around and did it again. They voted for him again. And now we have people in full-blown black lung oxygen masks talking about how they lost their cancer screenings. But it's more than that, right? You have these coal miners who are fighting against clean energy, a renewable source of energy that will pay more, that is, like I said, a renewable source of energy, and that they don't have to worry about the black freaking lung from coal mining. They don't have to worry about that. But instead, they fight for the tradition of a resource that is running out. It is finite. Once it's gone, it's gone. They fight for this resource that is finite and that severely damages their health. They fight for this working class tradition, for their peers to be like, oh, you're a good man. You're a good man. You're fighting the good fight. You're showing those liberals while you're putting your life, your livelihood, and your body at risk and on the line. You are a martyr. And you think that you're fighting for some sort of just cause. You're fighting to fill a rich man's pockets. And they've convinced you that it's some sort of political war to better yourself and make your life easier. Put a sense of ease into your life. Learn a new skill. You fight against that. When we're talking about a woman to stay obedient, to stay silent, to stay submissive, you're a good woman. You are a good woman to do these things. You are easier to control and to get you to do what the elites want you to do, right? Like I said, Pisces is an easily manipulated sign. When we're talking about the coal miner is resistant to progress, which seems to be a theme in the age of Pisces, with a certain group of people, to be progress resistant. And you're rewarded because you're a good worker. You continue to fill the rich man's pockets, and you are rewarded for that. How? How do they reward the woman? How do they reward the man? They let you know you're a good worker. There is nothing tangible behind it. There is nothing you can touch, nothing you can hold. Your life does not improve. In fact, it gets worse. It's all a delusion. All an illusion and delusion. All of it. But here's the thing also. Pisces doesn't live in this world. Right? Remember I told you they create their own illusions and they don't live here. They're living for the future. Same as Aquarius, but in a very, very different way. Hold on. So, when I say that Pisces doesn't live in this world, they live for what the spirit world may be. They're living for heaven. They're not living in this world. They understand, for them, their understanding is my life will get better once I die and I'm in heaven and I get mansions in the sky and I'm with the Lord and I get to see my family again. They're not living in this world. They don't seek change through actions. They seek change through belief. They're saying that in the future, when I die, or my family dies, we're going to be in heaven with the Lord, and then our lives will be so much better. Wow. And the romancing of their own suffering. If I live in poverty, if I'm suffering, if I'm sick, God will see that the battle that I went through here on earth, and I will be rewarded for that. So they vote continuously for their own suffering, because the ultimate tool of control is religion here. Yes. It's like I said, the 12th house is the house of self-undoings. Pisces self-sabotages all the time. All the time self-sabotages. Let me see if I can get this on. Oh, that's so bright. Is it better? Oh, that's so bright. Hold on. I don't know if that's good. I'll just leave it like this. It's a little bit spooky. It's a little bit spooky. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna clean my glasses off. But it's the opposite of Aquarius, right? Because Pisces lives in this land of delusion where after we die, this is what's going to happen, and you know, it may suck to live now, but it's going to be high and mighty when I get my Rolex and my Lexus when I die and go to heaven. Even though they're living the antithesis of what the Bible teaches, a lot of people are. Okay. Now, Aquarius, on the other hand, Aquarius says, I'm alive now. How do I make right now? Right now. How do we make right now better? We need to make right now better. How do we do that? Okay, we need this, that, because they're a very logical sign. Pisces is deeply emotional. One of the most emotional signs. But Aquarius is logic. How do we fix whatever is broken? And actually, I don't think we can fix it. Burn it to the ground. Like, I remember a lot of Biden's administration talking to Gen Z, and they would just talk about burn the country down. It's over. Get over. Like, we're done. I can't stand it. Like, it would be like, ooh, like, aren't you 22? You want to burn it to the ground? You don't want to make it, but okay. So Pisces believes in heaven up above. Like, when you die, you'll go to heaven, and this is what we believe. Pisces says, let's create some sort of heaven right here on. We can do that right here on Earth, right? We can do that here. We can do that here. We just need to put the effort in. We have to, you know, come on. Let's make this a better place for everyone. And here's the thing also. It can get to the point where even Aquarius will over-idealize something. And that's another negative part of Aquarius energy, is that they can over-idealize things, over-idealize people. And they'll be ready to throw away the whole person, while Pisces is overly forgiving and overly extending grace, Aquarius is very restricted in that area. They don't want to extend grace. They don't want to like this person did something I don't like, throw the whole thing away. Throw the whole thing away. Throw everything away. And that could be very detrimental, because there needs to be, between a Pisces and Aquarius, there has to be some sort of middle ground. Everybody's not going to be perfect. And there's almost like I don't want to say a Messiah complex, because they don't necessarily believe in that. Very, it's like they're not spiritual like that, but they have this thing where they want this seemingly perfect person to come out and believe every single thing that they believe and fight just as hard. But and I get it. I fully understand that. But you have to give to get. There is a theme in my community, in the Black community, called harm reduction. Harm reduction. Who plans to do the most harm? There can also be a thing that says, who plans to do the most good? Who plans to do which person is the closest to the goal that you want? And I think it's because Aquarius moves so fast that they want this now. And Pisces moves so slow. But there is a middle ground that you have to go by. Okay, we're getting closer to our goal. We vote for this person. We get closer to go with this person. We get closer and closer and closer to what we actually want. Not throwing the whole thing away. And there can be like this apathy that comes from it, right? This very real apathy with, like I said, it's a detachment, but it's an apathy in an Aquarian energy where it's just like, I don't care either way, but you do care. It can lead to like where you need it the most, where you need empathy the most, and where you need action the most can lead to apathy, because it's just like, you already know better. We shouldn't have to tell you anything, and we shouldn't. But we do, and we have to work towards a better society that we want. All of us, if we want it, we have to work for it. Yes. So, we're going to backtrack a little bit. Pisces speaks like spiritual transcendence through suffering. They are really focused on faith and forgiving and innovation, or forgiveness. They're focused on the afterlife, and they're focused on this reality that they really create in their mind of heaven and hell. But there is also a very real fear with Pisces of hell. Christianity is the only religion that has eternal damnation. So there is a very real fear there. And I remember even being like a little kid and, crying because I didn't want to go to hell. That was a terrifying thought. And it would be like, well, if you sin, you'll go to hell. And I remember asking, like, what if you sin and you've been a good person and you get hit by a car? Were you going to go to hell? At some point, you have to realize that God knows your heart. He knows what kind of person you are, and He knows your heart. And if your heart is evil, yeah, you're going to go to hell. What the hell? The way you've treated people, is it terrible? Then you might go to hell, girl. And then you have Pisces who romances struggle, romances other people's pain and suffering. There's also a part of my community that says they want to be oppressed so bad. Because sometimes when you try to explain your experiences as a black person to somebody who is non-black, it's all of a sudden everything that they do and how, the black people won't let me wear braids and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, I was just watching that on TikTok, and this white woman responded to her, like, basically somebody coming at her as a white woman saying, y'all can't lead nothing. Y'all can't lead. Like, you are the biggest majority in America, and you allow this shit to happen where women are losing their rights everywhere. This white woman got up and started talking about, we're so tired of black people telling us we can't wear braids, and we're tired of, like, not being able to, like, girl, where? This is just foolishness and nonsense of trying to shift blame and stuff like that. Ooh, girl. Okay. I hope I'm summing up what these things mean. I hope I'm doing it well. I hope so. I don't know. Okay. So, Aquarius absolutely over-idolizes the idea of creating a utopian society, right? And they want to create it, but in unrefined, in the early stages, we get kind of like this rebel to be a rebel. Like, I'm hoping that this is something that is a learned experience, because now we're all collectively having to go through this. Where there is a definite lack of patience with Aquarius when it comes to human flaws. And they are very quick to excommunicate people who don't fit into the revolutionary demands that they set out. I remember literally during the election asking questions, and they'd be like, you're a genocide supporter for asking, what is your plan? What do you plan on doing with these things? Okay. Oh, here's another thing I really want to talk about. I noticed that Aquarius is very much about looking into the stars, and I think this is what I have a little bit left that I'm going to talk about. And Aquarius is very much looking at the stars and the universe and flying to other planets and seeing if there's any alien life. While that's becoming more apparent, because the like I said, the 12th house that is ruled by Pisces used to contain Aquarius. It is really moving into the first house, so it's going to be plain for all of us to see. While I still think that there is something very valuable at looking at space, I think what we're really going to be looking at is Earth. I truly believe that the things that were hidden from us in the 12th house, in order to keep the population under control, are now going to be coming to the forefront. I mean, look at the CIA is releasing files. We're seeing, what else are we seeing? We're seeing the CIA release files. We're seeing, I think they're called the Dongo tribe in West Africa, and how they were visited by these intergalactic beings millions of years ago, and had a far stronger knowledge than really anybody else of astronomy without even having a telescope. I think that while people are planning on escaping Earth and leaving Earth, I think that what's really going to happen is we will go deeper. Now, I don't know if this is going to be in my lifetime, but the Earth is not spherical. It looks spherical when you're watching it from space, but it has deep caverns, and it's this very odd shape, but because of the gravity and the water, it looks like a sphere, but it's really not. We live on the crust. We've explored the Earth's crust. There is so much more going on in Earth. It is so deep and vast, and the mysteries of it are going to unfurl. I believe that we're going back to things like communal farming and urban farming, things that Black people have been doing for generations. Tapping more into ancient rituals and herbal medicines and mineral medicines and subterranean networks. I think that that's going to be a huge thing. I believe there is so much in Earth that is unexplored, and we are absolutely going to be looking into the soil to see it. Here's the thing. Here's a quote that I'm not sure where it's from, but it says, the sky reflects the data, but the Earth holds memory. We will be looking into the Earth to remember who we are, especially if you're Black, especially if you're Black. Refinding who you were, refinding who you are I truly believe is going to be a mission for Black Americans. And how, you know what I'm saying? How do we refine who we are? Okay, let me go to my other notes. And Let me say also that I forgot to announce this in the very beginning, but I'm speaking from somebody who was an outside looking in. When we're talking about the age of Pisces, as a black woman, I have known the shadow side of Pisces. The good side of Pisces I've seen, but it's almost like I'm watching it on camera or something, or I'm watching it through another lens. I am extraordinarily familiar with the shadow side of Pisces, which is the negative parts of Pisces. And I wanted to highlight some very important aspects of the age of Pisces. You have the Renaissance period, right? You have a period of great art towards religion, Mother Mary and the 16th Chapel and Michelangelo, and making all these beautiful sculptures and paintings. And I'm sure there was music and dance and all sorts of other things that maybe weren't cataloged, but they existed. You know, it was this huge time of art and religion that they came together, and we got the Renaissance period. We have the Inquisition, where there was an enforcement of a religion, right? And heresy was punished. An enforcement of religion. We think of Bloody Mary, Mary Queen of Scots, who went around killing the Protestants. And it was just kind of like this religious war, which there were very many religious wars. Very, very, very many religious wars going on at this time. Manifest Destiny. We're pushing forward, and we're getting rid of, or we're pushing, really enforcing our will on other people, and pushing our way in order to empower the Lord. You know, we're doing it for God. Manifest Destiny. Very dangerous. We think of Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation, where they started selling, like, I forget what they're called, but they started selling these like papers to say like, hey, God, your soul is saved now if you pay this much amount of money. And if you are a Christian, you know that God did not play about that. I think they were selling sacrifices in the church, selling them in the church, and Jesus came up in there and started flipping tables. Not my God. God never played about his name. I know that some people, when you think of like saying the Lord's name in vain, and a lot of people think of like, you know, God damn it. I don't think that that's what he meant. I think it meant like you played with his name. You said that you were doing something evil in his name. That's what he's not playing about. Ooh, I worry for people who I worry for some of y'all, but I feel like some of y'all, it is deserved. Anyway, you have the Salem witch trials, right? The fear and and remember, it's delusions, it's illusions. Now, it was seen as, oh my God, we're afraid of this feminine energy. These witches, they're bringing evil. What was it really? It was people killing women to gain their land and assets that their family had left for them. And the biggest one, or not the biggest one, no, yes. Are you out of your fucking mind, Marissa? The biggest one, colonization and slavery. Colonization and slavery. That is the biggest one. That is the biggest one. So, we had sparks. We had sparks of Aquarian energy throughout. As Aquarius was trying to peek its head through, right? Trying to peek its head through and show us glimpses of what life would be like. So Pluto was in Aquarius, and the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had the American and French Revolution. We also had the Industrial Revolution. We also had, this is the dawning of the age, civil rights movements. We had women's movements, right? As we got closer to the age of Aquarius, which I believe happened in 2012, we started having these revolutions. And people wanting to be free and not wanting to be oppressed anymore. Okay. Oh, and we also had the LGBTQ plus revolutions, and we had this new sense of spirituality that white people discovered in the 60s. They discovered for themselves, okay? Because definitely this already existed with incense and music and patchouli. Because absolutely these things already existed. So what are some of the things that we should expect in the age of Aquarius? So right now we are on the early cusp of Pisces overlapping Aquarius. I feel like people are going to acknowledge the climate emergency, excuse me, AI, crypto, and we're also very clearly watching the fall of white supremacists due to white supremacy. Watching the fall of white supremacy due to white supremacists. We're watching the oppressed say, you know what, I need you to leave me alone. I need this to be done. We're watching men and women saying that they know more when it comes to their own oppression. And the bloodline of men, they're more than a few, and this isn't just America. And this is worldwide. We're watching their bloodline fall apart, and they're losing. The men are having a very hard time with that, of not being chosen. So with that, I hope I gave a proper understanding, basically, of what to expect when it comes, or what energy we are leaving and what energy we're coming into. This is like one of my very first videos, and this is my very first long form video, and I hope that this was informative for you on where we're going and what we're going into. I hope that it gave you an insight on what we're going to be talking about, because there's still so much more that I want to bring here. So thank you so much. This is Risa Rising, and I hope you guys have a good night. Come back and watch the rest. Bye.